Jai Jain everyone, welcoming you all to this new session, new series of lectures by Dr. Rajesh Sheth uncle. Today's topic for the lecture is Devdarshan. We will be having two lectures, one today and one in the other session. You all must be aware of Rajesh uncle through few of his earlier lectures at Jeev portal. In the month of Feb and March, we had his lectures on the topic Ramukar Mahamantra and Char Mangal Path. So he is one of the core members of Parmagam Honors Program, and he's a leading teacher there. So now I would request him to start today's lecture on Devdarshan. Uncle.
Thank you, Arshil. अरहंत सिद्ध सुर उपाध्याय साधु सर्व अर्थ के प्रकाशी मांगलिक उपकारी है। तीन को स्वरूप जानी रागते भई जो भक्ति काय को नमाए स्तुति को उच्चारी है। धन्य धन्य तुम्ही से काज सब आज भयो कर जोरी बारंबार वंदना हमारी है। मंगल कल्याण सुख ऐसो हम चाहते हो मेरी ऐसी दशा जैसी तुम धारी है। हो मेरी ऐसी दशा जैसी तुम धारी है। So today's topic is temple visit or Devdarshan. So when we say Devdarshan, so Dev means Arihant and Siddh. Siddh is liberated soul and Arihant is still in the 13th stage of spiritual development. But when we add word darshan to Dev, then obviously it means that we are talking about the temple visit. Okay. So in the 6 essentials of a householder, the first essential is Dev Puja. And herein lies the importance of Dev Darshan. So when you go for puja, worshipping the Dev, the Aryanta Dev, that is the first essential. Okay, so it has got its own importance. In the text Pravachansar, Acharya Kunkund Dev defines the definition of delusion in verse number 83 as ignorance about the nature of substance, attributes, and modification. Okay. Delusion means ignorance about the nature of substance, attributes, and modification. Now, what is the way to get rid of this delusion? For that, he mentions in verse number 80, where he says that one who knows the Arihant with respect to substance, attributes, and modification. This is the first step. One who knows the Arihant with respect to his substance, attributes, and modification, he comprehends in his mind his own substance, attributes, and modification, and finds that in reality there is no difference between the Arihant and myself. Now this leads to the third step, and this third step is of self-realization. So when he finds that there is no difference between the Arihant and myself, because of delusion, because of ignorance, there was alertness in non-self objects. And now, after knowing the substance, attributes, and modification of Arihant, as well as my own, and when I find that there is no difference between the Arihant and the self, this automatically, the alertness in non-self objects automatically reduces, okay? And the upyog, the active consciousness, lead it, it takes shelter in his own self, and that is the time you realize yourself. And when you realize yourself, delusion assuredly gets annihilated. This is the uh, synopsis of verse number 83 of Pravachan Sarji by Kunkund Acharya. And with this definition, it leads us to the importance of Devdarshan. So what is Devdarshan? Now we will see. Harshilji, you can share the slides, the presentation. Yeah. So Devdarshan or temple visit. This is one of the first ritual when an householder wakes up in the morning. The first thing that is in his mind is the Devdarshan. Okay. So what we are going to discuss in Devdarshan? Next slide. Yeah. There will be introduction, then what is Devdarshan, then characteristics of idol worship, steps of Devdarshan, benefits of temple visit, and summary. Now, the last two things, benefits of temple visit and summary, that we are going to discuss in the next class, coming Sunday. But today, we will be covering all the first four contents here. Next. Darshan devasya darshanam papanasham. Darshanam swarg sopanam. Darshanam moksha sadhanam. So this is the words taken from one of the poems written by a scholar, and what it means act of solution to Tirthankars. What it leads to? Next slide. So this act of solution to Tirthankar, which is Devdarshan, it leads to three things. The first is it's the destroyer of sins. So when you are indulging in such auspicious activity, automatically you are not indulging in any kind of sins. So in this sense, it is called the destroyer of sins. Second, giver of heavenly pleasures. Now, a seeker doesn't want heavenly pleasures, but this activity automatically leads to this heavenly pleasures. Okay. So the second point is giver of heavenly pleasures. And the third is direct path to liberation. Now we would be interested in this, how it leads to the direct path to liberation. So that we are going to discuss in detail in this and the next session. Next slide. Now we come to the Devdarshan. What is Devdarshan? So initially I told you the importance of Devdarshan in a nutshell by referring to the verse number 80 of Pravachan Sarji. So Devdarshan means visiting the temple of Jinas, Jin Mandir, and offering prayers to the idols of Shri Arhant Pasmesti, mostly Tirthankar Bhagwan. Okay. So the idols of Tirthar Parmesti in our Jain temple are mostly of Tirthankar Bhagwan. So we have 24 Tirthankar Bhagwans in this era, and starting from Rishabdev Bhagwan to Mahavir Bhagwan, all these 24 Tirthankars preached us the path of liberation. So visiting a temple automatically implies that we want to tread on the path of liberation, and ultimately we want to get liberated. Second point, idols of heavenly beings, demigods, goddesses or any other soul that are not arhat should not be worshipped. Now, you may ask question, why? What harm does it do? Even we also pray to Tirthankar Bhagwan, and we will also pray to idols of heavenly beings, demigods and goddesses. What is the harm? So, Pandit Todarmalji in Moksha Marg Prakashak in the 6th chapter says, he picks up a question on his own and asks this question, let it not be useful, but by believing and worshipping them means this heavenly beings, demigods, goddesses, no harm is caused. He's asking the question. Then he himself gives the answer. If there be no harm, then why would we forbid? Okay. Why would we share that should not be worshipped? Why it should not be worshipped? So he gives the two logics. Harm number one, due to fostering of false belief. Already there was false belief since time immemorial. About that, because you are worshipping this heavenly beings, demigods and goddesses, your false belief is still being fostered. Okay. So due to fostering of this false belief, the right path of liberation becomes remote and inaccessible. This is a big harm, you know. We are all strive to manifest right belief. Okay. And that is the beginning of the path of liberation. Right belief, right knowledge, and right conduct. And by worshipping these idols of heavenly beings and other gods and goddesses, we are fostering this false belief, and that leads to the path of liberation becomes remote and inaccessible. So this is naturally a very big harm because our very purpose gets defeated. So this kind of awareness is required. The second harm, owing to the bondage of inauspicious karmas. So when you are worshipping such heavenly beings and demigods and goddesses, you are binding inauspicious karmas, and miseries are caused in future. So when you bind such karmas, miseries are caused in future. So there are two harms. So definitely there is something very important in this message, that we should not worship any other heavenly beings, gods, demigods, any other idols apart from Arhat. Okay. Next slide. Now, what are the characteristics of idols for worship? How do we identify that this is what we should worship and this is not we should worship? So, the first is that our idols, that is the Arihant Pratima, are passionless. Passionless means vitragi. Okay. Vitragi means you are in equanimity state. Okay. You are neither manifesting attachments nor manifesting aversions. Okay. So this is called passionless, non-attachment. Okay. They neither represent nor evoke the feelings of attachments and aversions in the person worshipping them. Okay. So the first characteristic that we should look at in the idols for worship is this passionless. The next, Nasagra Drashti. Now, what does this mean? Nasagra Drashti. 1 minute. Huh? Yeah. The idol's eyes should have a gaze towards the tip of the nose, and the face should have a serene expression, Saumya Mudra. So, Nasagra Drashti means that idol's eyes should have a gaze towards the tip of the nose. That means the eyes should not be fully open, and this indicates that the Aryant Paramatma, the Aryant Parmesti, is completely engrossed in himself. Okay? Because his eyes have a gaze towards the tip of the nose. So he is not looking at the outside world, although the whole outside world is reflecting in his knowledge. But he is not interested in looking at it. He is just focusing on his self. Okay. So this also gives us inspiration that when we go to a temple and see the idol, we should also develop this feeling that we should also be looking at ourself only. Okay. So this gives us, this Nasagra Dashti gives us an impression to look within, and the face should have a serene expression. So when you are looking in yourself, automatically your face gives this serene impression, tranquility, peace. This is all what Samyak Mudra depicts. The next, the third in the sequence is Dhyan Mudra. Okay. So the idols of Jinendra Bhagwan, the Aryant Parmesti, are in the temple are always in two positions. Okay. First one should be in a meditation pose, that is Dhyan Mudra, which is either lotus pose. So the first one is the lotus pose, and the second one is the standing pose, Khadgasan. So when we uh, relate this Khadgasan Pratima, we always remember Bahubali Bhagwan, you know. So he meditated while standing. Most of the Tirthankars that we see in the temples are mostly in the Padmasan position only. So this is the third characteristics of the idols for worship. Next, no adornment, should be devoid of any types of adornment, decoration, shringar, weapons, shastra, or woman. Why? Because all these depicts that there is a attachment present. Without attachment, you cannot have adornment. Without attachment, you will not keep any weapons, and without attachment, will not keep any stree or woman. Okay. So God has relinquished all worthy possessions and attachments to adorn their body when they embraced asceticism. So they left all these things when they embraced asceticism. How can we decorate their idols with things they deemed worth renouncing? Very obvious, right? So the idol should not be, there should be not any adornment. It should be Vitragi Saumya Mudra. Okay. Now the next point is the symbols, Mangal symbols, the auspicious symbols. What are these auspicious symbols? Symbols like parasol, chhatra. You can see the three chhatras. The next, fly whisk, hello, bhamandal, which is also called bhamand, and the throne on Sinhasan, okay, are usually found with the idols of Tirthankar Bhagwan. So Tirthankar Bhagwan in a Samosarana, the holy assembly, have these 8 pratiharyas called pratiharyas, special attributes called pratiharyas. And these pratiharyas along with the 34 additional features, the Atishay, okay, out of which 10 are 10, 10 and 14. 10 are related to birth, 10 are related to omniscient knowledge, and the 14th are related to the celestial beings. So these 34 additional features plus these 8 pratiharyas, out of this 4 are being shown here, and there are other 4. So 34 plus 8, 42. And then of course the 4 uh, attributes of infinite knowledge, infinite perception, Then Anant Gyan, Anant Darshan, Anant Sukh, infinite bliss, and Anant Virya, infinite power. Okay, all this makes 46. These are the attributes of a Arihant Parmeshti. So, what are these 8 Pratiharyas? 4 are also already mentioned. We will discuss one by one. The first one is the Ashoka tree, a divine tree sheltering the Tirthankar, adorned with jewel flowers and red leaves. Now, Ashok, what is the word Ashok means? The word Ashok itself means without sorrow in Sanskrit. Ashok, without sorrow. It serves as a reminder of the Tirthankar's conquest over worldly suffering and the path to liberation. So, uh, Tirthankar were just like us before in their previous births, and they rose from that position to become a Tirthankar and ultimately get liberated. Okay, so it serves as a reminder of the Tirthankar's conquest over worldly sufferings. So he overcame all these worldly sufferings, and he got into the path of liberation and ultimately got liberated. So this is the significance of Ashok tree. Then the 3 parasol, chhatra, 3 chhatra, 3 jeweled parasols, each larger than the one. You can already see the bottom one is larger than the second one is larger than the third one. Larger, each larger than the one above, symbolizing sovereignty over the 3 worlds. So 3 worlds, so 3 parasol. The third is the Sinhasan, the throne studded with jewels, a jeweled throne that even the sun's brilliance cannot surpass. The next, the fourth one is fly whisk, chavar. So there are 64 divine whisk used to keep the Tirthankar surrounding clean and free of dust. So each of these symbols has a significance. And if we understand this significance that is related to each symbol, so when next time when you visit the temple, you will have a different kind of experience. The next in the sequence is the halo or the Bhamandal. Okay, a radiant aura radiating from the Tirthankar's face, a radiant aura radiating from the Tirthankar's face. So this indicates that the knowledge is in our soul and it is going to emanate from it always emanates from the soul only. As the aura is radiating from the Tirthankar's face, similarly knowledge is uh, emanating from the soul itself. So we have already covered 5: Ashoka tree, 3 parasols, the throne, the fly whisk, halo. Now the 6th in the category is the divine cattle drum, Dudumbi, a large drum that announces the arrival of the Tirthankar. The next is the 7th one, divine flower fall, a shower of divine flower raining from the Tirthankar's face. And the last one is divine sound, Divya Dvani, a melodious sound often described as Omkar, emanating from the Tirthankar. And whatever we have in terms of scriptures, the source of all those scriptures is this Divya Dvani. Okay. So these are the characteristics or the Mangal symbols of a Arhant Parmeshti. Now the next, so same slide, the third point here, consecrated. What does consecrated word means? Any idols or place having made having been made or declared sacred. So only idols that have been officially consecrated through the Pancha Kalyanak Pratishtha ceremony are eligible for worship in the temple. Okay. So we do celebrate this Panch Kalyanak in a grand manner, and it's a replica of the original thing happening in the Samosaran. Okay. So uh, that is again a very important event for a seeker, and in our Borivali area only, we are going to construct a temple. Next week, we are having a Silanyas Vidhi, and then the temple will come up and we will also have a Panchkalna. So this, okay, so this is from the positive side. Now, unconsecrated, apratishthit idols or pictures, images, photos, or their videos, even if they depict passionless, omniscient gods, cannot be worshipped. So this is the awareness is very important, because people generally keep photos in their home and they worship it, but no, that cannot be worshipped. Only the officially consecrated idols should be worshipped, because through the process, this 5 kalyanaks, there is a process, and through that process, that particular idol is as good as a live Aryant. In fact, in one of the scriptures, I think in Jnanarano, it has been mentioned that one idol of a Tirthankar is worth 10,000 live Tirthankars, because it's going to spread the message of Vitragta for centuries, So there are many Akrutim Chaityalayas, as we know in Nandishwar Deep, during the festival of Ashtanika, the heavenly beings goes to this Nandishwar Deep and they worship the idols, and those idols are Akrutim, not man-made. It's there since time immemorial. So it has got its own importance. Next slide. Now comes the important part of today's discussion, the steps of Devdarshan. So before entering the temple, there are certain precautions that we should take. And then after entering the temple, what we should do. And ultimately, the last point, what is the significance of all this? So we will be discussing this one by one. Now, before entering the temple, what are the precautions that we should take? The first one, enter the temple after removing any item made by hurting others, like leather belts, silk clothes, flour, etc. Usually and ideally, we should be wearing white dresses, kurta pajama or whatever. Okay. The second, visit the temple after a bath, wearing clean and decent clothes. Okay. And also preferably white clothes. The third, never enter the temple with food in the mouth, pan masala, chewing gum, etc., nor eat inside the temple. So this kind of instructions are required nowadays, because generally speaking, people are now, there is very little awareness of all these things. Okay, so we have to mention as a precaution. The next point, remove shoes, socks and place them in the designated area. Wash your hands and feet with the water provided at the entrance of the temple, and we should ensure that that water is filtered. The next slide. Now comes the second part, after entering the temple. So we just now discussed before entering the temple, and now what are the precautions that, what are the steps that we should follow after entering the temple. Enter the temple praising God. Bhagwan ki Jai Jaikar, Jai Ho, Jai Ho, Jai Ho. The next step, say Nisahi 3 times. What does this word Nisahi means? It means that I am entering the holy place of worship with purity of mind, speech, and body. Okay. So 3 times. Why 3 times? Because mind, speech, and body, one for each. Nisahi for mind, Nisahi for speech, and Nisahi for body. It also implies that we should leave aside sinful thoughts and worldly affairs. So when you are entering the temple, you should have a very clear mind, clear objective in your mind that you are entering the temple to worship the Jinendra Bhagwan. Okay, and nothing else should come to your mind. So that's why 3 times Nisahi, Nisahi, Nisahi. The third point is standing before the altar of God, one must say Om Jai 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 Namastu Namastu Namastu. Again, Jai 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 Namastu 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 3 times. So one is we just now discussed from the mind, speech, and body. And also we want to manifest the 3 gems, the right belief, the right knowledge, and the right conduct. So 3 is the figure here. Okay. Jai 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 Namastu Namastu Namastu. The next, recite Namokar mantra 9 times. Then recite prayers and hymns. Okay. Or usually we do Chattari Manglam part. And whatever prayers, what are your favorite prayers, you can recite. And while reciting the prayers and looking at the idol of the Tirthankar, you should contemplate that in spite of having so much of strength, power, and his knowledge is omniscient knowledge. So there is nothing that is hidden from his omniscient knowledge. He knows all the 3 worlds, and along with their each substance, its attributes, and in modification, all simultaneously at one moment, and still they are focusing in themselves. Okay. So while whatever you do inside the temple, this should be prominent in your mind, the purpose, So the purpose here shows, it depicts that the Tirthankar is concentrating on the self. He is engrossed in self. He is fully immersed in his self. Okay. And this also motivates us to do the same. The next point is reflect on the passionless, peaceful idol of Shri Rajesh Bhagwan and how I too can achieve true happiness. So here we are getting the understanding the benefit of doing this Devdarshan. Okay. Reflect on, we should reflect in our mind on the passionless, peaceful idol of Shri Rajesh Bhagwan, and from there, so Jain Darshan to Nij Darshan, how I too can achieve true happiness, how I can realize myself, how I can experience myself, and how I can experience my eternal bliss, the true happiness. Okay. The next, this one, yeah. After entering the temple, we are continuing with after entering the temple, step by step. The next step is Devdarshan can be the most fruitful with this kind of mindful contemplation. Okay. Just like looking at the altar, what you have thought, that is all mindful contemplation. Then what we should do next step? Perform an 8-limbed salutation, Ashtanga Namaskar. Okay. So this is not the image that is shown here is about Panchang Namaskar. So 5 things: 2 feet, 2 hands, and the head. This is what usually we do. But what is Ashtang Namaskar? That also we should know. 8 parts of the body, 8 limbs are involved in that. 2 feet, 2 hands, butt, back, heart, and head. So like falling flat at the altar of the Tirthankar. So this is performing an 8-limbed salutation. But generally, people by and large do this Panchang Namaskar. 2 feet, 2 hands, and the head. Then the next step is walk around the altar thrice. This is called Pradikshina or Parikrama. Okay. So while doing the Parikrama or Pradikshina, we do recite some prayers. Okay. And this Parikrama and Pradikshina signifies salutations from 3 things. Again, mind, speech, and body. Salutations from mind, salutations from speech, and from body. It also implies to why 3 times? Because getting rid of wrong knowledge, wrong belief, wrong knowledge, and wrong conduct, and attaining right belief, right knowledge, and right conduct. The next slide. 1 minute. I think one is still left. Come to the previous slide. Previous slide. Yeah, this one. Yeah, this one. No. So before the next one, Harshil, the next one. Kayotsag. Yeah, this was left. Bow before God and say the Namokar mantra 9 times while standing erect. This is called Kayotsag. With full concentration, you are uttering the Namokar mantra 9 times. So this will further increase your concentration power. The next. Yeah. Men should participate in performing anointment. What is this? Prakshal, Abhishek, with great enthusiasm. Okay, with great enthusiasm. So this is very important. As the idol is of a celibate god, women cannot touch it. However, they can applaud the process, anumodna. Okay. So men should definitely participate in performing anointment. This is very, very important ritual, and it has got great significance. I would like to share with you a few things on this. Okay. What is the significance? What is the importance of touching the feet? This is the opportunity that you have got. You have got a human birth. You have got birth in a Jain family. You have got a temple nearby you, and you are already going towards, you have already entered the temple. Now, usually after the sun rises, 48 minutes after that, there is this fixed time for this anointment. Okay. And you should be there before that, and you should perform this anointment. What is the significance? Men should wear, first of all, sacred clothes like dhoti dupatta. Okay, you should change your home dress and you should wear sacred clothes, washed dhoti dupatta, which are available at all Jain temples, and actively participate in the anointment. This is a unique opportunity for a householder to touch the holy feet of the idol. When you are in that dress, then only you can touch that holy feet of the idol. Otherwise, you are not allowed to touch, and consider themselves highly blessed. Now, I'll give you an example of myself. I've been doing this Abhishek and Prakshal since last 25 years. The day I understood this religion, and I understood about the Digambar Jain religion. So from that day itself, I've been doing this, and it has been such a wonderful experience. And the transformation, I want to talk about the transformation. So the transformation that I got is something I cannot describe in words. You know, it increases your purity level. It makes yourself to become ethical. All this inspiration I got from this Abhishek and Prakshal. So recently, Pandit Ji Sumat Prakash Ji was here in Borivali, and he motivated us, he motivated the whole uh, Sabha to perform this anointment. And we formed a club, and it was named Charan Spurs, and people started joining. And usually in our temple, we used to have 10 regular people, 8 to 10 people coming every day for this anointment ceremony. But after the motivation and people started joining the club, and we told them that you have to do this ceremony once a week or 15 days a week. And those people who never came for anointment, they started coming in. And now we, on a regular basis, we have 13 to 15 people every day. It has been very successful venture. So one question, if you are not doing this at this stage as a householder, then when you will do it? Because monk, in the 6 essentials of monk, this is not mentioned. So this is, I would say, a mandatory feature. This should be a mandatory feature of every householder. And the kind of transformation that you will realize, that you will experience, is something unbelievable. Okay. So I would motivate everyone to do this. Okay. The next, bow before God, apply Gandhodak on the forehead. Apply the sandalwood dot tika on the forehead and offer a donation. Okay. So all these steps we do follow. Now this Gandhodak, that the water that we used for the Abhishek, it is considered sacred and is placed at a designated spot in every temple, and people generally put 3 fingers in that and put it that, touch their head with that. Okay, with the thought of becoming God himself. Next slide. We are still continuing the steps of after entering the temple. One should worship God with 8 substances. Now, this is very important. Dravya Puja. It is called Dravya Puja, and the 8 substances that we usually use are pure water, jal, sandalwood water, chandan, washed rice grain, akshat, yellow rice, pushpa, then dried coconut pieces, neved, yellow coconut pieces, the deep, then clove, dhoop, and almonds for phal. So these are the 8 substances that we do Dravya Puja. The next is participate in religious discourse, pravachan, swadhyay, or study a religious book or yourself. Usually in all our temples, we have a Pujya Gurudev Sri CD Pravachan. So you should listen to the CD Pravachan. And nowadays we all have screens, big screen, giant screen. You can read the word to word pravachan that you are listening. So that's a very surreal experience that you will have. The next is contemplate on what is being said by the religious text and decide on how to apply in one's life. Now, this practical part is very important, and this we are going to discuss in detail in the next lecture. Next slide. Now, so these benefits of temple visit that we are going to discuss in the next lecture, and not only the benefits of temple visit, what are the impact, what are the best practices, and what should we avoid. Okay. So all these things we are going to discuss in the next lecture. Now our time is over, and if you have any questions, I am ready to take up. Otherwise, Harshilji, over to Harshilji. You are on mute.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Uncle, for this beautiful explanation to Devdarshan. We should definitely follow the proper process so that we are worshipping Trilokinath. And there should be some set pattern about Shuddha Vastra, about Prakshal and everything, which should be followed. And now, uh, if we have any questions, Uncle is happy to answer here from the audience. Any questions related to Dev Darshan, uh, please? Okay. Then I have one question.
Can I ask one?
Yes, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. Jai Rajesh sir. So usually one question arises in minds of many seekers who don't have Mandirji close by. So what should they do for Devdarshan if there is no mandir close by, or if they live in some country where there is no Jin mandir at all?
Yes, very good question. As a seeker, everyone has this in mind that there should be a temple nearby, but there are some constraints. Each one has got his own reason. So if you don't have a temple nearby you, but if it is a bit far, you can think of changing your place of residence. You can go near the temple, right? If you are able to afford, and you can do that. If you are not able to do that also, then you have the scriptures with us. So Dev, Shastra, Guru all have equal weightage. So you can keep scriptures in your home at a higher place and perform the same things that you perform in the temple to that scripture. Okay. That is another option. The third option would be, again, it's going to be difficult, but like you have to take some risk in life. Similarly, like you are staying in a place where there are no Jain temple. So you should contemplate on leaving that job or business or whatever you are doing and prioritize this temple visit. Okay. So you should stay in such a place only where there is a temple. Now you have options if it is not there, but that is not ideal. That is okay. That's a compromise that we are doing. But ideally, we should develop enough strength to believe in our punya, the auspicious karma, and with this feeling, automatically things will unfold in your life, and you will have a temple in your place. Anything else?
Yeah.
Hope I have answered your answer, Vijay.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
I have one question, sir. Is it advised to worship a Bhagwan picture in a
Hmm.
poster? Let's say
Hmm.
we have a picture of Mahavir Bhagwan in
Hmm.
a poster. So if people are not close to the temple, can they worship it, or we should not worship it?
No, no, no. We should not worship it. We should ideally worship a scripture. The scriptures is there, so you can put scripture in a upper place in the home itself and worship that scripture as if you are worshipping a idol. Okay.
Okay.
Because if you start worshipping that picture, then some other problems will creep up because it is affecting our belief system. And the idols are also worshipped just because they have gone through that process of Panch Kalyanak. Okay. So that Jin Pratima is Jin Sarki. That Jin Pratima is as good as Jinendra Bhagwan in a Samosaran. So that sanctity, the purity, that should not be lost.
Okay. Anyone else? Any other question? Okay, I think we are done for today's lecture.
Yeah.
So further we will continue in the other session which we have in the coming week. So before we conclude, let me shortly introduce to the accessible points again. So I repeat this part of the section every lecture because it is beneficial and everyone should understand how to access the lectures, how to visit the website, and how to take advantage of the course material which we have provided in the resources section. So you can visit the website jeev.net.in. For any queries, you can email us. All the social media handles we already have the accessible points here, and lecture for YouTube lectures, you can visit the website, but you can also subscribe the channel on YouTube. So once the lecture is finished, the next day we upload the lecture on YouTube. So you can also take the essence of those videos whenever you are comfortable as per your time slot. Now Jinwani Stuti for Rajashankar for Jinwani Stuti.
निज निधि निज में बताई, यह अनंत उपकार है। उसके लिए जिन वाणी माँ को वंदना सत बार है। उसके लिए जिन वाणी माँ को वंदना सत बार है।
9 times, no problem.